Released in May 2014, Watch Dogs is an open-world action-adventure game developed by Ubisoft Montreal and published by Ubisoft. The game is set in a fictionalized version of the Chicago metropolitan area in 2013, and you play as gray hat hacker and vigilante Aiden Pearce, who, after a tragic hit-and-run that killed his niece, seeks revenge through hacking the city's central operating system, CTOS, and taking on criminal networks. One of the strongest selling points of the game was its concept and mechanics. The idea that the entire city's infrastructure, traffic lights, CCTV, bridges, personal devices, is tied into a network you can manipulate gives the player novel ways to approach missions. In early reviews, this hacking element was often praised. For example, the ability to trigger a bridge lift to stop a chase, or hack into a phone to gather data, made for set pieces that felt fresh compared to many other open-world games of the time. From a development standpoint, Watch Dogs had ambitions. Development began around 2009 and spanned over 5 years. The setting of Chicago was chosen after field research by Ubisoft Montreal for authenticity. On release, the game also sold very well. It reportedly shipped more than 4 million copies within a week of launch. However, it wasn't without weaknesses. Though the hacking mechanic and concept were innovative, many reviewers criticized the execution in several areas. The story and protagonist were considered bland or unsympathetic. For instance, Aiden Pearce was described as a dead-eyed sociopath by one reviewer. The driving mechanics and vehicle handling also got flack for not matching the polish of the rest of the game. Another major issue was hype versus reality. Early demonstrations promised very high-end visuals and next-gen performance. But many players and critics considered the final release a downgrade from the showcase. On PC in particular, optimization problems were serious. A benchmarking review noted that even high-end hardware struggled, anti-aliasing caused stutters, and performance was uneven. Critically, the game garnered generally favorable reviews, but with caveats. For example, the Metacritic scores were around low 80s on PS4, high 70s on Xbox One and PC. Some reviewers felt that while the open world and mechanics were solid, the game lacked originality beyond the core concept, and some missions felt repetitive. In terms of legacy, Watch Dogs laid the foundation for the series that followed, Watch Dogs 2, Watch Dogs Legion. Its core ideas about hacking and surveillance-driven open worlds influenced how Ubisoft and others approached similar themes. That said, the game remains a bit of a what could have been in many players' minds. A strong premise, some excellent moments, but held back by execution and perhaps over-ambition. For example, one Reddit user put it like, "People hated Watch Dogs 1 because the game was quite poorly optimized on PC and had quite a few of the settings hidden." One of the most overlooked elements of Watch Dogs is the psychological toll that constant surveillance and control takes on Aiden Pearce himself, the man known as the Vigilante. While players often view Aiden as a cold, calculated hacker driven by revenge, few realize that his descent into obsession is one of the game's most subtle and tragic arcs. Aiden doesn't just fight against a corrupt system, he becomes consumed by it. At the start of the game, Aiden is motivated by a singular purpose: avenging the death of his niece, Lena. Her death, caused by a hit ordered after one of Aiden's hacks went wrong, is the core tragedy that drives his story. But as the game progresses, it becomes clear that Aiden's pursuit of justice isn't pure. It's tainted by guilt, paranoia, and the illusion of control. He uses CTOS, the central operating system that monitors every digital aspect of Chicago, as both a weapon and a shield. Yet the same system that gives him power is what's slowly eroding his humanity. He can manipulate traffic lights, spy on citizens, and expose their secrets. But the more he does it, the more he blurs the line between justice and obsession. Aiden's interactions with others highlight his inner conflict. Take his relationship with his sister, Nikki. She wants to move on, to protect what's left of their family. But Aiden refuses to let go. When she tells him that his need for control is tearing their lives apart, she's not wrong. He believes he's keeping her safe, but in reality, he's pulling her deeper into danger. Every decision he makes is justified in his mind as necessary, even when it puts others at risk. This is where Aiden's moral decay becomes apparent. He's no longer fighting for his family. He's fighting because he doesn't know how to stop. Another key piece of this puzzle is his relationship with Clara Lil, the hacker who helps him throughout the game. Clara represents the last piece of Aiden's empathy. She's haunted by her own role in Lena's death, yet tries to help Aiden find peace. But Aiden's obsession with vengeance leads to her death, a moment that marks the point of no return. When she dies, Aiden doesn't break down or change. He doubles down. The tragedy of his character is that he mistakes vengeance for closure, and in doing so, loses any chance at redemption. Even the ending of Watch Dogs reinforces this. After confronting Damian Branks, the man who exposed his family to danger, Aiden finally achieves what he set out to do. But he gains nothing. Chicago remains corrupted. CTOS still rules the city, and Aiden walks away alone. The vigilante becomes an urban myth, a ghost haunting a city of his own making. The more he fought to control chaos, the more he became part of it. In a way, Watch Dogs isn't about heroism or even justice. There's one aspect of Watch Dogs 1 that's often overlooked: the city of Chicago itself, not just as a setting, but as a living character shaped by power, paranoia, and control. While most players focus on Aiden Pearce and his story of revenge, the real star of the game is the system running underneath it all. CTOS, the Central Operating System. What's fascinating is how Watch Dogs 1 doesn't just use technology as a gameplay mechanic, but as a mirror for society, showing how data, privacy, and security collide in ways that feel more relevant today than ever before. Chicago in Watch Dogs is a meticulously constructed digital surveillance city, one where every traffic light, security camera, and smartphone is connected to CTOS. What makes this so interesting is how Ubisoft designed the city to react to you in subtle ways. The ambient chatter on the streets, the random crime predictions, even the way the city blocks change tone depending on wealth and social status, it's all tied to data. Each person walking by has a profile: their income, health, relationship status, even dark secrets. It's easy to dismiss this as a gameplay gimmick, but it's actually a clever commentary on how information defines people more than their actual actions. You begin to realize that Aiden isn't just hacking Chicago. He's exploiting a system that was already built to watch everyone. What really sets Watch Dogs 1 apart is the moral weight of its protagonist's actions. Aiden Pearce calls himself a vigilante, but the more you play, the more it feels like he's lost in the same corruption he's fighting against. His hacking isn't about justice, it's about control. He uses the city's network to manipulate people and systems, much like the corporations and government agencies he claims to despise. And that's the hidden genius of Watch Dogs 1. It makes you complicit in that hypocrisy. Every time you hack someone's bank account or manipulate a city grid for your benefit, the game forces you to question whether you're any different from the people you're fighting. Another rarely discussed detail is how the city's AI subtly evolves as the game progresses. When Aiden's notoriety increases, you start seeing the effects ripple across the population. Citizens become more reactive, the police more aggressive, and the world itself feels less forgiving. This isn't just cosmetic. It's the city pushing back, almost as if it's aware of Aiden's interference. Ubisoft Montreal designed the AI behavior and crime prediction system to make Chicago feel sentient, reinforcing the eerie sense that you're never truly in control, even when you think you are. Even Aiden's family ties into this broader theme of control. His obsession with finding the people responsible for his niece's death consumes him, blinding him to how his actions put everyone else at risk. His relationship with his sister, Nikki, is strained not just by grief, but by fear. Fear of what he's becoming.